to have a serious conversation about a recent war in Sudan, and I think you guys need to really get your thinking caps on for this because this is going to be essentially a masterclass in African geopolitical politics. Okay, you have this incredible uprising that is taking place in Sudan currently. It's happened about the 15th of April, and before I get into the characters and the names and everything like this is what people need to understand. Democracy is not for everybody. Democracy is not for everyone. Every country doesn't work under the auspices of Western monopoly on democracy. Some countries simply work better with a dictator, with a military leader, just based on what is happening in the region. And Sudan is one of those areas. And many of you might be thinking to yourself, who cares about a war in Sudan? Like, how does that affect my life? These people are always fighting. Aren't these guys always in some kind of conflict? And I'm telling you, it's affecting your life every single day, and you don't even understand. Okay? So let's get an idea of where Sudan is in the world. You have Libya to the north, Egypt to the northeast, Chad to the west, South Sudan. So you have Sudan, and then you have South Sudan. Then going down, who is underneath them? You have Uganda, and so you have this country and then you have Eritrea actually there too. So you have this country in a very hot area, and then. But that's not it yet. Let me get into why this is significant, right? What are the two number one resources that make Sudan a gem? What does Sudan have that the world wants? What does Sudan have that Russia is flying mercenaries in there to steal? That China is flying mercenaries in there to steal, that the United Arab Emirates are giving money to one faction. I'll talk about the two factions. And Egypt is giving money to the other factions. They are one of the largest producers of gold, or exporters of gold in the world. Sudan is rich with gold. When you look in the Bible now and you start figuring out these areas and who's who and who's what, you can realize, I should brought my water. You should realize who's who. You'll realize who's who. The countries are not called Sudan, but you'll know. Sudan is rich with gold and oil. Rich, rich, rich. Unlimited supplies of gold and oil. Enough gold and oil to tip the scales of the economic wealth of even a G8 type nation, even a China or a Russia, America. It can tip the scale. That's how much gold, that's how much wealth is under the ground in Sudan. That's what these guys are fighting about. So you have two factions. You have General Mohammed Dagalo, known as Hemeti, the Rapid Support Services, or the RSF, okay? And then you have the de facto leader of Sudan, and his name is General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, okay? So you have these two generals who essentially have two very large armies, two strong faction armies, who are essentially saying, I'm going to control the country. Or the guy's saying, no, I'm going to control the country. And both of them have people behind them saying, nope, we won't control the country. And so this region really there's no end in sight. There's no end in sight for this scenario. And what's going to happen at the end of the day is you're going to have essentially some kind of bipartisan military partnership in government. That's going to be the only thing that's going to be able to run this country. Unless some real superpower, like serious superpower, steps in and backs one side, and then the other people back off, which is what the U.S. has done over the course of years, right? They've come in, they said, no, this is our guy, we're going to back him, we're going to send military, we're going to send weapons that you can't deal with, we're going to annihilate the other side, we're going to annihilate you guys, and we're going to install this guy, and then you're going to give us all the money. that's what the U.S. has done historically, but now this is going to be the problem. The U.S. can't do that right now because Africa has changed. Africa has changed very much from South Africa, West Africa, all the way to the east and the north. Africa is a very different place, and the United States of America essentially is not welcome in most of it. From a military perspective, for the guys who are really making the most amount of noise, Africa is not interested in the United States of America. And so this is the question now for the African American. How interested should I be in Africa? And let's talk about an area like we're talking about now, like Sudan. None of us are going to emigrate from Canada, America, anywhere else and say, hey, I want to go live in Sudan. That's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. But this is why Sudan is so important. Because the Sudanese resources, if stabilized, could bring about the vision of what Gaddafi was trying to tell the African League. That we have enough gold, we have enough resources, that we truly never have to rely on the West ever again. In fact, we can back our currencies with gold and destabilize their fiat currencies so that we are the go-to economy on the planet, Africa. This is why they killed Gaddafi. This is why areas like this, people want to keep it destabilized. Before you heard my voice, how many of you knew how rich Sudan was with gold? When you think of Sudan, you think of, oh wow, is that country in Africa that has all this gold, all this oil, all this wealth, all this agriculture? Nope. That's not on the top of your mind. And they don't want it to be on the top of your mind. So let me tell you the multifaceted ways that these conflicts work. Number one, it is in the interest. This is an old game. This game is not new. This game is old. They did it in Congo for years. They're still doing it there. They did it with blood diamonds, gold, and etc. Keep a country in military turmoil. Fly in, say that you're bringing aid. We're going to assist you guys. We're going to come in. We're going to set up shop. We're going to help you out. We're going to bring some aid. We're going to get some guns. We're going to bring some stuff, for your hospitals, and we're going to set up shop here for a little while and make sure everything's okay. We want to make sure you have your back. We're not getting involved though. Not getting involved, but we're going to support you. You just got to give us a place that we think is a good place for us to set up base. And we think this place, A, B, and C. A, B, and C, satellites have checked out the geology of the land to see where the largest gold deposits are. They set up shop in there and they start to mine for gold. They start extracting gold, tons of gold weekly, if not more rapidly. And these countries, Russia's doing it right now in the Sudan. They're flying in, they're mercenaries, they're going straight to the gold mines, getting in there, sticking these guys up, saying, hey, hand over all the gold right now, and flying out. You know, Russia will do that. Russia's not opposed to that. So they're keeping these places destabilized so that not just one country, but a group of countries can say, hey, I'm gonna give your side, that other side, I'm gonna give them some weapons, you give them some weapons, and we both gonna go in there and we're gonna loot their ass from behind. That's number one. So keeping the countries destabilized so that they can now step in there and take over. That's number one of Cold Warfare, right? Number two, setting up a partnership agreement with both sides, with both factions. So you say, hey, General, Diablo, right? Hameti, right? I believe that's his name, right? Yeah, Hameti. If we take care of you, we put you in charge of the country, what you gonna do for us? And as you're talking to him, you send somebody else to go and talk to General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, who has a much longer, resume with foreign powers because he's been around, I think, a little bit longer. Older man too. And you say the same thing to him, bro. We take care of you. What you gonna do for us? And you play that game, the game of negotiating for as much as you can, for as long as you can, and now establishing a peace in that area. Now, the problem with doing that is that you're not the only player in that game. This is what Afghanistan is about. So you're not the only player in that game. And therefore now, if Russia's going to back one guy, America's going to come in there and back the other guy, that's a never-ending problem too. And again, it goes back to number one, because you can't win that. When Russia and America are sitting in there pulling on either side, there's no winner in sight. The only people going to lose is those countries. So there's multiple negotiations going around. Negotiations with Saudi Arabia, negotiations with the West, negotiations with China, and all these negotiations are happening with Russia, Asia. So they're basically stuck in turmoil because each side is waiting to see who are their true allies. So again, no end in sight. Number three, and this is the worst one, is you stop sending aid to those countries, right? You tell them, listen, we need you guys to stop. Your people are suffering. But so what we're going to do is we're going to cut you off all aid. We're not going to do any exports with you. This is what they did to Congo too, right? We're going to say that any of your minerals are now banned internationally, and all of that wealth that you're fighting over, it's not going to be valuable to you. Remember now, Belgium, France, all these countries already looted Africa, took all this money out of the Congo, right? We know that. Stole all this money out of the Congo, and then all of a sudden, in the 20th century, Congolese minerals become toxic, right? Oh, you've had blood diamonds and all this crap when you've been looting the country forever. So this is the same thing they'll do in the Sudan. They'll start doing this. You'll see stuff saying, oh, they're killing women and children. Grandmothers are dying. The Sudanese, oh my gosh, they're fighting over gold. We're going to make all Sudanese minerals illegal in the foreign market, right? So that these guys that are there fighting are literally fighting over stuff they can't even use. But countries are not playing those games anymore. So they're like, America might not take your stuff, brother, but we're going to take it over here in China. Oh, Saudi Arabia said we're going to take it. They don't. There's no more loyalty to America saying, "Oh, we need to have an embargo against them." All these countries, we've got to stop this violence. No one's listening to that either. And so these are the methods that are used to destabilize Africa, right? Because when you put those embargoes on, I should say this last part, the people starve, and then the people turn on the leadership. The army turns on the leadership. You don't have any, you don't have any money. You don't have any standard of life, and you essentially cause the people to slowly put those leaders out, kill those leaders, and then say, let's negotiate with America because we need them to open the doors, open the borders, open the embargoes, feed us again, do all the things, return us to natural life. This is international politics. Again, I told you it was a master class on international geopolitics. This is what this would be. This is what you're having. Now, you're going to have now all of these academics who are sitting down on various sides of and we're going to be picking apart Sudan for the next few months. We're going to be talking about Sudan, and some of us will, like the BBC will be talking, Al Zahera News will be talking, I might be talking, but CNN, Fox News, all them guys, they're not going to be talking about that. And there's a reason. It's not only because it's in Africa, because when America starts sending their mercenaries, they want to get in before the general populace knows what's going on. This happened in April the 15th. Do you think people in America sitting down, people in Canada watching hockey, people in America watching the NBA, watching baseball, are concerned that your government is now going to go and send probably 1,000 Navy SEALs to start setting up mining for oil and gold in deep Sudan? No one's going to be watching. The place is crazy. There's no one watching. You say, listen, we're going to support you. We're going to come in there. We're going to send some troops, some machinery. But all of a sudden, they're going to see stuff landing. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, tanks. Oh, wow, we need those tanks. Go. Geez, what's that? Well, we're just going to be building some stuff to to get water, to build wells, and to make sure that, oh, wells, that sounds good. Wells, you're digging for wells. And all of a sudden, minerals leaving every day, planes flying in, landing, stuff going out the back door, right? Do you think they're going to allow Sudanese troops on a U.S. military base or a Russian military base or a Chinese military base? Oh, no. We're going to send you out your one tank, and we're going to take 10 metric tons of gold a day. We're going to loot your country. Thank you very much for having a war against each other. This is what they do. So how does that affect you and me in the long run over here in the West, right? Well, an influx of gold in the gold market actually drives the price of gold down. It actually drives the dollar, if your American dollar, drives your American dollar down too. It legitimately can affect supply and demand, absolutely. Because there's now consumers who have more capacity to consume. It actually could work out in your benefit in some ways because we have a scenario here where I hope you guys can hear me because I know I just went on a live with my daughter for a second, and I'm hoping that everybody can still hear what I've got to say here. Okay. If you can hear me, let me know. So you have a scenario where Sudan and the amount of minerals it can, sorry, I forgot this. It could affect oil prices because remember, this is crude oil now that you're now able to suck out of this country for the foreseeable future. So it definitely could help oil prices. Um, the American military gets into anything, it actually helps the economy because they're producing, they're creating jobs. So these are the things that you don't see when you have these mineral rich countries having these types of military incursions, right? And these generals, they're not sitting around fighting for clout. They're fighting for billions and billions of dollars of control of a very rich country. Deals that are on the table, that are old deals and new deals that are sitting on the table. Okay, bringing people up to spec. We're talking about Sudan, the war in Sudan. The war in Sudan right now that is taking place broke out April the 15th with two rival generals in Sudan that are fighting over the control of the region. One side being backed by Egypt, one side being backed by the UEA, and multiple external partners diving in and out of the region. The Sudanese people are trying to get out of the capital, which is dab in the middle of a very big country, and essentially it's a crapshoot whether or not you can get in or you can get out. There's really nowhere to go, and you might get caught in the middle of something, or you might get lucky. If you're on the escort and the outskirts, you might have gotten away to Chad, you might have gotten away to Egypt, you might have gotten away to even Libya or Uganda, but you're in it. You're in the midst of a lot of problems happening and no foreseeable future. Many times, men can't go anywhere. Men have to join the army, and it's pretty difficult if you're on one side of that situation. Men usually aren't able to get out of those countries with their families. So what takes place is the women flee on their own. The women and the children flee to try to get out of the country on their own. And of course, when women are fleeing and they flee to the wrong side, what takes place? They get handled, they get raped, they get human trafficked and all the other things too, which is another thing that these countries do, flying in there doing the same thing. It becomes a mess for the civilian. And this is the last part about it before I'm gonna open it up, let some of you guys have some conversations with me about this, is that no side is interested in having, let me see them. Oh, here we go. Sorry, I was missing all these comments. Thank you very much. No side wants civilian leadership. So we got Grand Rising, Democracy, U.S. Style, New Timbuktu. I did not know Sudan's gold. Yep, Mansa Musa. Africa is not Haiti. We need to keep our noses in the U.S. Tragic wrongs in its own citizens. Second that emotion. Thank you, Russ, for your $1.99. Bless you, brother. Appreciate that. The Berlin Conference, 1844 to 1845, authorized the European looting of African lands. Please look that up. The Berlin Conference of 1884 to 1885. They didn't need they didn't need authorization. They've been just doing it. My friend Macman 007. RIP to Lumumba. As long as African countries has evil collaborating leaders sabotaging, they will always suffer. I'm gonna talk about that next. Ain't that the truth for the nation built off lies? I think you meant to say. I meant lies. Yep. So all these white-skinned countries can throw down rules and make it okay to run over riches and over lands. Thanks for bringing to light the amount of gold in Sudan. Loud and clear. Sudan production of, yep, you guys can Google it yourself. Salt, gold, cement increased since 2012, approximately 250,000 miners work in gold production. Sudan's the third largest producer of gold in Africa. See? Thought I was making this up, eh? You thought I was making this up. So I'm just here to let you know and show you, I should have put my phone on do not disturb. Hold on a second. Yeah. So basically, I'm trying to show you exactly what I'm talking about right now. It's true. So thank you very much for everybody doing your little background research. Appreciate that. And so let's keep the conversation going. So when you have a country like Sudan that has an armed conflict like this, right? to you and me, it's like we think, oh, it's just another war in Africa, just another. It's not. And so when you talk about these evil leaders, so these evil African leaders, and this is hard because this is going to be a hard thing for you guys to swallow, right? These guys are no different than anybody else happening in the West. Why does one individual want to be the American president? Because you want to be in control of trillions of dollars of American assets, American policy. You want to create businesses, generational wealth for your family, for your people, for your companies. You want to be the power of the region. There's no different than when these military guys, who, remember, these guys have a historical military background. They have ideals. You know, they want their country to prosper. However they feel it will prosper better under them than under the other guy. And yes, Stephen says, you know, the president's just a face, but he's the face of the American military. That's why they call him the commander in chief. So let me finish my thought and get to that. They believe that their country will prosper better under them than the other military leader. And they have a plan to allow that military leader, they have a plan for themselves as a military leader to put policies in place for the betterment of themselves and their country. They have a plan. America's president is called the commander-in-chief. What does that mean? The American president is truly the general of the army. That's why he's called the commander-in-chief. The subgenerals report to him. He is the leader of the army. Now, a lot of these countries, and this is what makes America so unique, that their democracy is not devoid of wisdom. A lot of these countries, there's a general and then there's a president. And the general leads the army and the president leads the government. A very big mistake, right? America has made sure that they did not lame duck their president by allowing the army to report to someone else. America's president is the head of the army. So what does America have that is any different than what Sudan is doing right now? Absolutely nothing. America's president is the head of their army. The opposition, and you guys don't have it like they do in Canada, the opposition or the second party, he also essentially could have an army. He doesn't have an actual army, and this is what is taking place in the Sudan. These guys who are called the RSF, the Rapid Support Forces, another general, another leader, basically mobilized a group of men to be another army and said, hey, we're not going to fight you with parties. We're not going to fight you with political rhetoric. We are going to fight you. I'm just making sure nobody's in my background here. We are going to fight you with an army. And our army is going to dictate what happens on our side of the political spectrum. Right? So look at the bottom line that is in Africa. We need to get it together. Stop fighting each other and help each other. Tim Davis. Thank you, Tim Davis, for that comment. Now, Tim Davis, let's get into your comment, though. Isn't that what's happening in every political tug-of-war country except for Russia, and still a little bit in Russia? Once you don't have one dominant figurehead leading the country, you are going to have rivals in the country, in that individual country, positioning themselves for leadership. What Africa needs to do, in my opinion, is while they have internal turmoils, they need to be wise enough that they do not let Western powers come in there and loot the country. And this is the problem with these guys, is that You're here. You're worrying about, okay, what is America? Are they going to send us more tanks? Is Egypt going to send us more troops? And when they should be saying, hey, listen here, this is going to be a fight between you and me, but I want to make this very clear. Don't let these guys come in here and land in here, because you know what they're going to do. They're going to go loot the country. All right? Just you and I sit down and have a conversation about this. If we can't have a conversation, let's agree to this. We're not going to let foreign powers land in the country. We will not let them land. We will let them send whatever you want to send. They can send it on your side. They can send it on my side. But we will not let them land, because we know what they're going to do. They're going to siphon out gold and resources, and that's what we're fighting about. Because really, that's what they're doing. They're fighting over the power over resources. Come on, guys. Come on. They're fighting. It's one of the richest countries in the world in gold. That's a fight. No one's going to just say, okay, you can have it. It is the gem. It is one of the gems of Africa. Sudan is one of the gems of Africa. It is one of the richest basins of land in Africa. You cannot look past that. It's worth the fight, especially if you're a general. Let me see what you guys are saying. Get rid of the collaborating leaders and you have a chance. Is there a difference between the commander-in-chief and the military-industrial complex? The military-industrial complex is simply the industry of the American military. And the answer to that question is no. There's no real difference between them. The industrial complex keeps running regardless of who is president, which is what the unique thing of America is that the army does operate while the election is going or happening in a state of independence that says we will pledge allegiance to that seat, as opposed to we will pledge allegiance to that personality. Whoever sits there, we will pledge allegiance to that person. I was watching one of my favorite shows, Mandalorian. And Mandalorian, the Mandalorians are a warrior group in the Star Wars world. They never take off their helmet. They have a particular type of armament, a particular code. But the leader of the Mandalorian group has to do so with the dark saber. And you cannot lead the Mandalorians unless you have won the dark saber in combat. So the leader who wields the dark saber, the person who wields the dark saber is the leader. And so this is how the American military really is. The person who sits in the Oval Office, that is our leader. And if you do not sit in that office, the industrial complex will not follow you. That's essentially how I would describe it. Is Africa, if Africa as a continent would unite, they would prevent the plunder of their countries. I'm going to talk about that cryptonaut. The cryptonaut Khan, the beast is connected in every of the activity. If there's no difference, why does the president have to appease the MIC? I think at the military-industrial complex, he doesn't. The president doesn't have to. All the president has to do is go to Congress sometimes and ask Congress to vote to allow him to do things. But he can essentially activate the army anytime he wants. We saw, this is how they activated. Obama activated his army to kill Osama bin Laden, and America's done the same thing throughout. They don't need to really consult with Congress. The president can declare war. They want some type of collaboration, but they absolutely don't need it. If Africa was a continent, if Africa as a continent would unite, they could prevent the plunder of their country. So let's talk about that. And I think Africa is a unique place in the world because, let's face it, right? We're in 2023. Europe, the West, Asia has been plundering Africa for hundreds of years. And those countries that are rich in gold have yet to run out. And I think from the African perspective, it is their trump card in their head saying, we will always get these people to come here because they want our gold. We have unlimited supplies. They can dig for 1,000 years. They will not waste, they will not squander what we have in the ground in this place. And it's true. And so I believe that even if these countries united, as you said, they would still operate on a level of arrogance that we have as much resources, we have more resources than we need. We need the stuff you have. We need the things that you have. We want what you have. Come dig until you're blue in the face. Dig. We don't worry. Dig. Right? But when you dig, you will never be able to find a nuclear generator. We want one of them. When you dig, you'll never be able to create a satellite. We want one of them. So I believe the African countries are using their resources, some of them, as leverage to gain things from Asia and from the West that they don't have, and they would have to generate for themselves. This is my issue with Africa, that Africa should be generating their own industry. Think about this, ladies and gentlemen. Think about this. What if instead of going to China for manufacturing, we went to Africa? Africa has not developed its manufacturing. African countries have barely developed proper infrastructure. And it's on purpose. And it's cultural. But they said we don't have to. We will let the Chinese come in here and build a factory. We don't have to build a factory. And these are the problems, I think, that are in Africa. More than the infighting, it is the laziness of creating proper infrastructure out of people that are ingenious. Why can't Africa, as a continent, have the same manufacturing systems as China or Mexico? They would produce things cheaper than Mexico, probably not as cheap as China, but much cheaper than Mexico, based on currency exchange and the amount of human resources they have. Anyway, the powers that be split the African pie as the royal monarch in Belgium so disgustingly put it long ago. And those days are over. Africans are now in control of those countries. They've dispelled colonization to an extent, but the colonizer is still coming through the back door, offering aid. Anytime you see NATO, anytime you see the UN, these guys are stepping into your backyard, offering aid, and the aid is backed with looting. You are being looted. That's what's taking place. Anytime you see these people step in, they're taking place. RSF leader, hey Junior. Okay, is this one of the leaders? RSF leader, yes. So that brother Hameti, I believe his name is. This guy is calling himself the RSF leader here. So that's Hameti, the Rapid Support Forces in the Sudan. He is. I don't know a lot about him. He's younger. I don't know a lot about him. I know that he's holding his own, and he's being backed by other outside parties. Blue helmets. Okay, is that how we distinguish the difference? The colonizers pay a few to control Africa's resources. The problem with the colonization of Africa is that the colonizer still is looking for the most base things from Africa. The most base things. They're looking for resources. When you say fighting for democracy, I said it initially. Sudan does not want democracy. Sudan is not interested in democracy, and I don't think the region is interested in democracy to some extent. I think they require to be led by a military leader. I think that area needs it. They need a strategic individual who is a military mind, and I don't think the area is even going to come close to looking for civilians to be the head of those places. The place is too dangerous. Things happen too quickly. You need a guy who has the intelligence of a military, of the network of a military to keep those countries stable, or else somebody will always walk in there trying to teeth out the whole place, right? So I was just going to ask if it's arrogance or laziness, and I think the arrogance comes in countries like Ghana, where you have a Ghanaian president who's extremely intelligent. I don't think he's lazy to some extent, but I think he recognizes it's easier to let them do it. And then and if they're going to do it, we'll charge them a fee, right? We'll charge them a fee. The laziness to me is collectively, that the collective minds of Africa haven't gotten together and say, hey, the reason we have all these millions and millions and millions of people running out of Africa every day, and then trust me, if you could just say, hey, for 20 minutes, anybody in Africa who wants to leave, raise your hand. The world would not have places to put those Africans. They want to get out of Africa. Why? Because Africa, for the most part, not speaking of South Africa, but just about everywhere else, not necessarily even talking about the Muslim nations of Egypt and otherwise, Morocco, but Africans, for the most part, want to secure a Western imagination of a lifestyle. An imagination of a lifestyle. Let me say something. When I went to Ghana, they could not stop telling me, doesn't your government give you money? Don't they send you money every month? They were talking about welfare, something that is just foreign to them. Or baby bonus that we have here, right? So you'll have a mother at home in Canada. America, I'm sure it's very similar. She's collecting money on welfare, and she's also collecting money per child, right? We call it baby bonus here. A mother could literally could stay at home. She has 4 kids. She could collect upwards of $4,000 to $6,000 a month in support payments every single month. That's a pretty doggone good salary, right? That's a person making about 90 to not even more, maybe $120,000 a year. Now, when you hear about that in Africa, you're like, you mean you are staying home and they are sending you money? Yes, for every child I get money. Oh, that is a place I want to be. But they don't understand the system, right? And so in their minds, when I was there, they're saying, yeah, come on, you have money. How can you be from this country and not have money? They give you money every month. This is what they hear. This is what they believe is taking place. So the concepts from these governmental individuals, entities that are operating these countries, they're not thinking like, let's create a system to allow our countries to operate like the West. They're not. That's the laziness. The corporate laziness is saying, develop the infrastructure of your country, your social services system, your taxation systems. You know, this is what happened with Greece, right? Greece is no different than a lot of countries in Africa, right? No collection of taxation, right? You think people are running around in Africa, you know, saying, oh, geez, I got to file my taxes. It's May. Oh no, getting close to the tax deadline. Come on, man. They're not doing that anywhere. You tell me one country in Africa where the people are running around worrying about taxes happening at the end of the calendar year. Come on. The core strength of the colonizers is warfare. Absolutely. Not democracy or righteousness. They have perfected their warfare. Absolutely. The Daily Mail has a live cam. You can hear gunfire on YouTube. Wow. Part of its ideology should take precedence over the person. Yeah, it stands. The countries there are being plundered with no benefit in return, and the people suffer. Absolutely, the people suffer, right? And to be honest with you, if I was in Africa as a man, like, I'd definitely be in the army. I would definitely try to have a military career. Definitely. There would be no ifs, ands, or buts about it. whether I'm in a peaceful place like Ghana or whether I'm in a turbulent place like Sudan, I probably would want to be in the army. I wouldn't want to be in the police force because I know there's a military level above me and I don't want nobody kicking me around or pushing me around. So I'm going to definitely say, hey, let me just join this army. I'm a big man. I want to be a big man in this country. I'll figure it out one day and control stuff. Like that's, if you're a person who has some type of ambition in an African country, you're going to be an educator. If you're smart, maybe a lawyer. If you may be a judge, But if you're ambitious, you're going to join the army. You're going to join the army. You're going to do a hell of a job. You're going to kill on demand, knock people out on demand, obey on demand, be a stern person on demand, be smart, look, learn, observe, and you're going to maybe make something of yourself. That's the course to greatness in some of these countries. And so these generals that are sitting down making decisions on major scenarios, running hundreds of thousands, if not millions of troops, don't think these guys are dumb. They know they've come up in the ranks, they know what they're doing, and they're trying to keep the wolves at bay. But in the meantime, people are suffering tremendously in these countries. And before we go too hard even down that path, don't think that what's happening in Ukraine and Russia, that those jokers aren't putting people through hell too, and much more. I am positive the carnage that is taking place in the white tribes of the Ukraine and the Russian has come, and it will never come close to what actually eventually takes place in Sudan. Eventually, these guys are going to realize, hey, guess what? We're going to have a coalition government and come up with a way to run the country. Who goes first? And the guy that goes first is going to be trying to undermine the next guy when it's his turn too. They're going to need some kind of coalition government. They're going to have to put the right people in place, and they're going to have to put, your cousin, your uncle, so-and-so to sit at particular places to make sure the money flows in both directions, right? And they're going to have to figure it out. But that place will always be a military zone. Always be a military zone. Let's see what you guys got to say. From silk to diamonds, eh? Yep. So I'd like you guys to, I've been here for 47 minutes, but I'd like you guys just to take a look. Please support the page. This is the Del K. Brereton's Real Spiel. The things I like to speak about here are things that make us think as a people. I'm hoping that this can go around the world and land in the laps of the Sudanese leaders and the Sudanese people, Sudanese army, guys in the army. Listen, the West can't judge you. The West can't judge you. But what we will say from the West is that we are looking to you for leadership. Okay? They're looking for employment right now. Stephen, are you in Canada? I might have something for you. We're looking to you guys for leadership. What I'm saying to you is that you need a coalition government. You're in Tennessee. Let's talk to Stephen in Tennessee. Any of my Tennesseans? Stephen, tell us what industry you're in. Tell us what field of work you're in, and we can maybe find some people to assist. Our brother needs some income down in Tennessee right now. Tennessee, we know what took place there the other day with a lawmaker. But let me finish my thought. But yes, anyone in Tennessee and neighboring states, he's a truck driver. All right, that's not hard if your license is set up. Reach out. Let's reach out. Let's talk to him. I'm also gonna talk about it in my community page. Stephen Coleman community page. We're gonna make sure you got some kind of employment, brother, because a man has to work. God put him out there and said, listen, go tend the garden. So we're gonna make sure you're willing. You put it out there. We're gonna make sure something happens. If you can drive a truck, there's trucks to be driven. But speaking to the Sudanese generals, the Sudanese military, there needs to be something that allows you guys to set up a coalition government. Let me explain to you what it's going to look like. You're going to set up a coalition government, and the two dominant leaders are going to assign people to control different aspects of the government. You're going to have senators over particular regions, over particular resources. You're going to pick your resource, whether it's gold and oil or whether it's both, and you sit in equal partnership of the controlling of the resources. You're going to have your militaries broken into two parts to keep the status quo as a checks and balance. You're going to have an actual election of the people to allow representatives of the people to speak to government. And you're going to set up a coalition government scenario where everything that comes to the table gets cut in half. This is the only thing that will stop bloodshed. This is the only thing that will stop foreign powers from stepping in and saying, hey, we can take care of this guy for you. However, what we need to do is take care of us, right? America can come and kill both of you guys very quickly, as you know. They don't want you guys there. If they think you guys are causing problems, trust me, there will be drones in the sky that you can't see that will blow up your house, that will blow up your wife, your children. They'll do it if they need to do it. And so what I'm trying to tell you is get your country in line quick. Put yourself together quick. Tell these foreign powers that are contributing to your situation right now to hold off, that you're going to honor your deals. You're going to honor your deals with the UEA. You're going to honor your deals with Egypt. Your deals will be honored, but we're going to set up a coalition government that's going to work hand in hand. We're going to meet and have a joint chancellorship in respect to how the country is run. That's what you need to do, and you need to do it immediately. You need to set up your succession plan in case somebody keels over and dies. Put that person in position so everybody knows who he is now. And you need to stop causing the citizens of your country to be running around helter-skelter, frantic, not knowing if they have to leave their country, not knowing where to go. You got to stop it. You're leaders. Okay? Send this around the world. For those in my community page, get into my community page and have a conversation with Stephen Coleman. In my community page, we got Tennessee. Definitely, if you got folks who have opportunities, Stephen Coleman is a man ready to work. All right? Hop on my community page. Let's try to see if we can help him out. Yeah, we're gonna strengthen Steve. Listen, there's no such thing as a black man who's not strong enough to stand on his own 2 feet and to be successful. This is a world where every black man has the power to be a millionaire. Millionaires are not, that's not even a big deal anymore, right? So we have the capacity to do that. I don't want him to simply drive a truck. I want him to own his own trucking system, but we got to start somewhere, help the brother out. If anybody I'm sure he can do more than just drive a truck, but I'd like you guys to go on my community page right now, ladies and men. We got something for Stephen Coleman in Tennessee. Let's put it out there. And Steve, I'm gonna keep mentioning it until you tell me that you got a gig. Okay. Another topic: will the Canadian dollar be replaced by CDCs, like our CBDCs, like our CBDCs? Are just to clarify, are we talking about cryptocurrency? Is that what the CBDCs are? Just so I know what the acronym that you're using. Just I'm gonna wait for you. Are you talking about replacing a dollar, a something that is run by a central bank, by a decentralized cryptocurrency? Is that what you're asking me? Because the answer is a resounding no. As you know, there's cryptocurrency is not even safe anymore, and it's not even going to be a thing in a few years. We're moving very quickly away from cryptocurrency. I'm here to let everybody know. Cryptocurrency is not going to be a thing at all. And central bank. Will the Canadian dollar be replaced by central bank's what? Central bank digital dollar. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Central bank's digital dollar. The central bank digital dollar system that they're trying to come up with right now, um, really to me is no different than a fiat currency. Um, but the problem is that when you have a central banking system that is giving you everything digitally, um, what takes place when they can simply seize all your money at one time, right? So if I have no money in my bank, in my pocket, all my money is digital, you have now placed yourself in the hands of a system, a government, an institution to essentially control whether or not you eat every day, whether you can move, whether you can do everything. Um, I don't believe that citizens will allow themselves to be in a position where they do not have instruments of exchange. But as I said initially, when I did not even know exactly what your acronym meant, we're moving very far away from digital currency, whether it be controlled by a central bank or whether it be a decentralized cryptocurrency. People are going to start realizing that the value of actual gold and guns is the true currency. Gold and guns is the only true currency that you have. Don't forget the bullets. But gold and guns is really the only true currency that you have. Going into a season like this, gold and guns is the only true currency that you have. A world that allows itself to be run digitally and to be controlled digitally is a world that will be soon in a state of absolute anarchy, where you will be prisoners and slaves of your own country. When you can have a country that can control your digital currency, it will also control your digital capacity to move. We need to have nations that have no borders, nations that have no passports, nations that have no licenses to drive, no licenses for anything, license to get married, licenses to start businesses. None of these things should exist. They should all be gone. They should not stand in the way of anyone. They are basically things to stop the wealthy and things to stop the poor and to benefit the wealthy. They're very dangerous instruments. So they're not things that we should actually set up or organize for ourselves. All right. So we're in positions where we shouldn't be doing any of those things. Who is that? Who's at the door? So one moment, guys. One moment. So yeah. So when I hope that we exercise on the side of wisdom and make sure that no one's able to control massive populations with digital currencies from centralized banks, right? Those things are the most dangerous things that we basically have, right? Hold on one second. No,
Oh, sorry. Do you know what is the office for the security?
you have to go all the way to the other side. This is not it. Okay. Yeah, so the Fed now, and these conversations have started to happen, these digital currencies. You guys will never, America will never do it. So don't even worry. It's not going to happen in the United States of America. You have too many, you have too many paranoid Republicans, and too many gun-toting conservatives who ever going to allow their money and their wealth to be controlled digitally. This is the whole reason that America exists. That they did not allow a sovereign, a queen, or a king to be in a position to control their wealth, and it will never happen. Okay, it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. And if it does happen, it's going to be a clear indication that the end is extremely near. Right? So it's never going to happen. Central bank digital dollars are something that they're talking about. They're going to try to shove it down America's throat, but similar to the to the COVID vaccine and every other thing that they've ever tried to do, that is very clear. That's government controlled, unified communism or socialism in America. It just will never work. That might work in Canada. It might come here, but still, it'll get to the place where people will stand up and say, absolutely not. We're not putting that in your hands. All right. So I don't know if there's anything else you want to discuss. Let me see. No, it's not going to happen, brother. It's not going to happen. Is that a police knock? It's not the 5-0s. No, they ain't coming for me. CDCs are totally programmable and will absolve you of your God-given freedom. Yeah. It's taking your wealth and saying we're going to digitize your wealth, and then we control when we give it to you. We control when we release it to you, right? And it's a very dangerous game to play. I mean, everybody knows right now the reason that people use gold is not put in the bank, right? You have your money in the bank, and then you have gold. You keep gold on you, so you're in a position where you're leveraging your holdings with fiat currency and with gold, right? So, but the problem is when you have gold, what do you need? You need guns to protect your gold. You need transportation systems to move your gold. You need envoys of individuals to take. You need an army, essentially. And so, the true capital of these coming years are going to be militia forces, guns, gold, bullets. Those are going to be the true capital. And this is what you see in countries like the Sudan, right? You have the RSF that's like, hey, buddy, we've got an army too. And we're not about to let you run over us. We don't care who you are. We don't care if you've been the de facto leader. But we're not about to let you run over us. We're going to control some of this too. And that's true currency, ladies and gentlemen. And countries like the United States of America have somehow evolved past the need for military incursions to control the nation. They have created a sense of unified nationalism. Everybody feels that they're part of the country, and they've developed this idea of peaceful transfer of power. But at the same time, there are people in the background who do have that are pulling all the strings at the same time. So that's where we are. Okay. Guns need no law. That's where it is. Right. So once the man who has the gun is the man who controls the law, or the lady. So that's going to be always currency. Guns, bullets, and gold. That's currency, right? And wisdom is the last one. How to apply those things strategically and properly to win. That's another currency. So these things are real currencies. These peacetime currencies are fiat currency and crypto and all these things. Listen, look at every crypto giant that's come to be in the last little while. They're all scammers, and don't put your money in that. Don't put your savings in that stuff. Stop investing in these high markets of these inflated real estate markets. Stop doing that too. You're just being taken, right? Go out there, get yourself cheap land. Go with places that allow you to keep your guns, allow you to keep your gold. Stay in warm climates. Make sure you have 4x4 vehicles. Put yourselves in positions to educate your children at home and in institutions, and make sure that you have a community of individuals doing the same, and that if they come for you, they don't just come for you, they got to come get all of us. That's safety. That's frontiersmanship, right? That's how you keep yourself cool, and make sure that there's nothing that the government can have that you can't have. And I'm serious. Like, if the government says they're making a new tank, I want one too. If the government says we're making a new rocket ship, I want one too. They got a new satellite that's pointing, a weapon at me, I want one too. I want everything they got, because I don't want to ever be in a situation where you can turn me off, or you can switch me off, or you can kill me from outer space, and I can't protect my doggone self. This is not the world. This is the world we're living in right now, right? And we have to be extremely proactive in respect to keeping and making sure that we keep the so-called governments, because a government is just a bunch of people that we put there to activate things that we can't do right now because we're busy actually living life. You don't put individuals in position to have the paranoid massive control over your well-being. right? This is what civilian governments do. This is why Sudan is a very different place. As I get off here, I've been on here for an hour. I'm going to get off in a second. Military governments don't do that. Military governments say, don't worry about that, little boy, little girl. We're going to control it for you. We're going to take care of everything. All you need to be concerned of is that you're safe, you got a place to live, you got something to eat. We're going to make sure that you're okay. That's what military governments do, right? We're going to control everything. We're going to put you guys in a position where you're going to be safe. Nobody's going to mess with you, right? They're like the mafia. Civilian governments are like, nah, baby, I'm going to make as much money as I can. I'm going to make sure that you don't have more than what I got. And if you get it, I can get it. And we make sure we all rise up. That's a civilian government. These places like Sudan, they're never going to have civilian government. It's never going to happen. And if they even try it, some other military individual will come into the country, take over, and turn it into a military-occupied state. So this is what we're ruling with right now, okay? Signing out. I'll let you guys know as soon as I'm hired. Amen. Good, brother. Let us know. I saw Sudan Coup News. Thanks for the insight. Yeah, take a look at it, everybody. God bless you. Love, peace, and hair grease. Share this. This is Del K. Brereton. This is The Real Spiel. Become a member. Become a subscriber. Join. And thank you very much for those who have been given a little tip, a little handout, a little hookup. We appreciate it. It's all great for the channel. And any topics that you want to talk about, please go on my community page. Go on Del K. Brereton on Instagram. DM me. I answer all. I check all my DM. It's so many I can't answer all of them. Message me here when you see it, because the live streams go, and then you got to message me again and let me know what's going on. Okay. God bless you, everybody. We'll talk soon. Bye bye. Thanks, Russ, and thanks, Crypto Nut. Bless you guys. Bye bye.